Hello, everyone, and welcome to Grip Locked, Foundation Disc Golf's weekly podcast. I'm Hunter, joined as always by Trevor. And if you're watching us here, we have the new studio, I think, officially set up.
Yeah.
I would say.
Could be some additions, but we've got it to where we were trying to get it.
We're happy.
Yeah.
The only thing we're missing that we have in our possession is a rug.
Right.
But, I mean, you can't really see the rug, so that doesn't really matter. It's just for our personal comfort.
Yeah.
But we're also going to try a few new things this podcast that I think will enhance both the visual experience and the audio experience for those of you who listen every week. I think it'll kind of enhance it for both of you a little bit. We're going to try out some new segments that I think will be beneficial as we head into the off season. Because this week there's not a ton to talk about. But there's Jonesboro coming up. There's an interview that Ultiworld released with the Pdga's president of the board.
Mm-hmm.
They did an interview with him. They released that. Some of that interview we're going to get into when we talk about the USDGC show, because they asked some. Honestly, it was one of the best disc golf interviews I've ever read. I don't know if you had a chance to read it. I told you about it.
Yeah, I mean, I heard basically what you went through. It seemed like the questions were very pointed and precise and like what we always wish they would ask. So
exactly, that's what I was about to say. Is Charlie Eisenhood, he's the one that wrote the article, so I would assume he's the one that conducted the interview. It was, I think, one of the best interviews I've read. So the link's in the description below, as long as I remember to do that. I'm pretty sure I will. Links in the description below to go check that full article out. Like I said, some of the points we won't touch on until next week, though, with USDGC, but it was a very, he asked the questions that a lot of people have been asking to each other, to the person that has the answers. And on top of it, he didn't really shy away from questions that might have been uncomfortable to ask, right. Because it was stuff that was confronted about, just stuff with USDGC that I don't want to spoil, because I want to talk about it next week. Because I have opinions. I'm sure you have opinions. Stuff with the national tour that we've talked about, like the Pro Tour and the national tour coexisting. What does that look like? We're going to get into that this week a little bit. And like you said, some pointed questions that were probably a little bit uncomfortable to ask, but he asked the right person, and I props to him for doing that interview. If disc golf media continues that way, I think that's a good track. So.
Yeah, I mean, it's relieving to see somebody who's not scared of asking the tough questions.
Yeah, disc golf media having more people willing to ask tough questions, I think will be a good thing. Because I think we're just gonna jump into this. The thing with disc golf media, especially like being a part of it, is the disc golf community as a whole, and I saw someone ripping apart the disc golf community, which I didn't get. The disc golf community as a whole, day to day, when you're interacting with people, is a very welcoming community, very friendly, and it's kind of unlike other communities, at least I've been a part of. Yeah. To where it's very, very friendly, very over the top, grow the sport, very helpful community, and I think that when it translates to media, doesn't make for good media. Right. Because if you look at other sports medias, the thing that disc golf has that they don't is disc golf media. It's partly because we're so small, as a grassroots sport. It's partly also just because of the nature of the sport and how close-knit we are as a community. The disc golf media has relationships that it makes it more weird. Because, it's weird if you're talking to a friend and you have to bring up a hard-hitting question of, hey, you kind of messed up. I need to ask you about this type of a thing, which that's what a lot of media is, or calling someone out when they make a mistake type of a thing. That's weird when it's a friend or someone you're friendly with. Other media, they don't have that. Right. The point that one of the more recent points was when Stephen A. Smith went off about Kawhi Leonard, about it being the most unclutch performance. This was in the NBA playoffs with the Clippers. Yeah. He went off about it being the most unclutch performance, and it was just terrible and blah, blah, blah. The classic Stephen A. Smith style. Regardless of what you think of Stephen A. Smith, no one could say that in disc golf. The disc golf media, no one could say that, because we as a fan base and we as media, both of us would be whoa, dude, that's whoever it is. That, you can't say that about, you know what I mean? Yeah. When in reality, that's kind of not it has to be you're coming at players type of media, but media that's not worried about feelings per se.
It's there's nothing wrong with getting animated about a performance. You're not attacking that player's character.
It's just hard to do it when you're friendly with someone.
Right. I mean, there shouldn't be an issue with oh my goodness, like, did you see so and so missed that 40-footer? Like, what an awful like miss. Like, they should never have done that. Like, nobody does that.
Well, one person I will say that does it to a certain degree is Doss on commentary. Nate Doss is not scared if Paul or someone messes up to just be like, that was a really bad mistake, or oh my word. Now it's a classic Doss way of like, oh my gosh, Jamie, I can't believe he just made like, but it is he isn't scared to be like, I can't believe that this guy just did that or this girl just did that.
I think it's easier for him to do that because he's been there and done that. You know, he's been a world champion.
He's removed from the game.
Right.
That is the key. Right now, a lot of commentating that's going on. They're still playing.
Yeah.
So it's like, I got to commentate on this, and then I might have to play on the card with the guy the next day.
Yeah.
Like, that's a tough position that players are in right now. I think as disc golf grows and gets bigger, I think that's one thing that will be a benefit is like the media will be able to separate itself from the sport a little bit.
Yeah.
In the essence of like, you don't have to worry about what you say being awkward the next time you see someone because you're the media, they're a player type of a thing. Whereas you might be the media and a player and a teammate of the person, and that might even be your travel buddy that you're like on the road with, and you're like, ooh, like how am I going to commentate on this round type of thing.
Yeah.
But regardless, all that was just because, you know, I think Charlie Eisenhood did a great job on this interview. He asked the questions that a lot of people would have been scared to ask.
Sure.
And, you know, and we got the answers we were curious about, and we don't have to speculate anymore because we have the answers. Now we'll just talk about the answers. But first off, to start the show off, we're going to talk about Jonesboro, which, depending on when you're watching this, either already happened, first round did, currently happening, or it's in the midst of round 2 or 3 if you watch it, you know, Friday or Saturday. But, you know, we haven't really seen any coverage of this. This is always pre-recorded, so we're going to give our predictions a little bit. There's some notable names not there, which I'm not too surprised with.
No, I mean, some people just prefer to either take a breather or get early prep for USDGC, which I can understand, especially because when USDGC is like the big deal this year because there's no Worlds.
Yeah.
So it's whoever wins that is probably going to be who gets remembered for like the champion of 2020.
Mm-hmm. Which, I mean, also the schedule was a little weird. How it was like MVP and like you already made it over to the East Coast, and the Jonesboro Open now is the week before USDGC back into like the Midwest and then back. So like, that might be weird for some players. It's just how the chips fell this year. I believe Paul wasn't originally planning on playing it, but I think there was like kind of 2 factors. One's the point standings, making sure that, actually it might be 3, because I think another thing that we have to take into consideration is the abbreviated race for Player of the Year for this year. If I had to guess, I would say probably Eagles in the lead right now, or close.
It's definitely close.
Yeah. But regardless, Eagle not being there and Paul being there, I don't know what all the factors go into the Player of the Year.
Yeah.
But that could be one of the factors of him being out there. And then also, he in the Pro Tour like interviews just said like, you know, this will make like a 14 tournament season for me. Like, I figured, you know, I'm feeling good. I only have 3 more tournaments. I might as well play them all. Like, I don't really see a point in skipping this one.
Right.
So that's kind of why he's out there. But, you know, Eagle's not out there. Rick's not out there. I don't think I saw Simon's name on the list. Is Simon out there?
I think Simon is.
I wasn't really looking. I just noticed Eagle and Rick for sure weren't. Because I was just looking at the list for the predictions. I wasn't really looking for a who's not there type segment. But we'll just jump into the Mpo predictions. For me, we practiced with Paul. We did a practice round with him. He was talking a lot about the course. It's pretty open. You know, he's got to get his forehand and all this stuff. And then he said he was comfortable. He said he was feeling good. And multiple times he's like, yeah, I'm feeling confident. I'm feeling good going into this tournament.
Yeah.
So when I hear Paul, people ask him, like, what do you have to figure out before this tournament? If he doesn't have an answer, I normally am like, all right, I'm feeling pretty good. So I'm picking Paul to win. I'm going with the Kevin Jones second. This isn't his hometown tournament, but it is his home state tournament in Arkansas. He said in the interview, he said he normally has family there, but his dad recently got a job and they moved up to Missouri, or in the process of moving to Missouri. So I don't think he'll have family there this year, but he kind of has like a home court type of advantage, if you want to call it that. Doesn't really have much of an effect in disc golf, but
yeah.
I know I've seen Kevin Jones do well here before, and I think that with the season he's kind of been putting together, I expect him to do well again. And then in third place, I have the guy that's always around, Mr. Calvin Heinberg. He's always up there. A pretty wide open course from what I remember of coverage in the past years. I know it tends to lean a little bit more to a forehand, but when you have the kind of backhand that Calvin has, I don't really think that's going to play too much of a factor. So I got Paul first, Kevin second, Calvin third.
All right. Mine is almost the same. I've got Paul winning. I don't think Paul's going to... USDGC is a toss-up, but I don't think he's going to lose the rest of the year.
Okay.
And then I like Kevin Jones in second for kind of the similar reasons. I think it's definitely a pretty heavy forehand course. So, Kevin Jones having a good forehand is going to be pretty beneficial, and, is in his home state as well. And then third place, I wasn't really sure who to pick for third. There were some players I kind of left out because they don't have great forehands. Like Calvin has a good forehand, don't get me wrong, but is he known for it? Not necessarily.
No. He's known for his backhand a lot more than his forehand.
Right. So I decided to pick Anthony Brella.
Okay.
He's got a big forehand, and, he typically has at least one tournament each year where he kind of breaks out and splashes into the top 5, and I don't think it's happened yet. So I'm kind of just waiting for that to happen.
He's also extremely good at throwing with a hat on, the hat coming off, and him somehow catching it in his follow-through.
You do it enough times.
I mean, just tighten your hat down.
Doesn't look nearly as cool.
That's true. It does look, it's cool enough for me to notice and be like, dang. Like every time he does it, I'm like, nice catch. That was pretty sick.
What I mean?
I guess maybe that's why. Maybe he loosens it before every throw. It's like,
yeah, start doing that.
I couldn't catch it.
My head's so big, I don't have any settings to go looser. I got like one more setting.
That's so weird. I've never noticed, you don't seem like you have like a big head when you're just like, but now that I look at your hat, I'm like, geez, because I only got one more setting to go tighter.
It's just front to back. It's massive.
Interesting.
Yeah.
That's nothing to do with what we're talking about, but I'm on the
I don't.
I have one more thing.
I can't even comprehend that.
I have one more. Yeah, I could go one tighter and that's it on my snapback.
No.
And that's only because I started liking my hats a little looser. As of last year, it was fully closed.
Ooh.
What's your fitted hat size?
See,
no clue.
I haven't worn a fitted hat in a while.
Mine's in like the 7.5 maybe.
Oh.
I don't know.
I want to say mine was like, I think everybody's like in the 7 something.
Is it? I don't know.
Like 7 and 5/8. I want to say I was.
I have no clue.
I don't know. My head's an anomaly.
Doesn't matter. We're going for FPO predictions now. So on the FPO side, I was looking for Sarah Hokum, and her name's not on the list.
Not there.
Because again, like I said,
I did the same thing. Yeah.
So I was like, forehand friendly, Sarah Hokum. She wasn't there, but I also know Paige didn't lose this event last year. This event's been around since 2017, right?
Yes.
Has she lost?
I don't think she has.
So that makes that easy. Going for the Paige for the win.
Way to think of it.
Second place, Katrina Allen. As much as I like mixing it up, I also like being right. And I feel like every week going into it, I'm like, Paige is going to win, Kat's going to come in second. Doesn't happen every time, but I feel like when you're going top 3,
it's your best odds.
Yeah, exactly. When you're going top 3, I always like having Paige and Kat in there.
I like to go for the shock the world picks, So
well, then my third is based on the forehand, which would be Haley King.
Yeah.
When Sarah Hokum's out of the field and you're looking for a forehand player, I'm gonna say Haley King I think has the best forehand looking form in FPO. Period.
She's got a better forehand form than a lot of MPO.
Yeah, than a lot of MPO.
Yeah.
Her forehand, she throws it far. She throws it so smooth, and it just has. I envy her form like crazy.
Yeah, it's impressive.
Yeah, and so, I feel like she is kind of known for it now. But last year I said something about it, and everyone was like, "What? What are you talking about?" I'm like, "How do you not know this?" Now I feel like people know her more.
Yeah.
But yeah, so when I was looking for forehand, I couldn't find Sarah Hokum. Haley King. If Sarah Hokum was there, I probably would have went Paige, Sarah, Haley, to be honest with you. I might have knocked Kat out. But, I don't know. She wasn't
It's kind of what I would have done.
Oh, what did you do?
Well,
what we got here?
For those reasons you just talked about, I'd pick Haley to win.
Haley to win?
I just feel like the whole year I feel like she's going to win a Pro Tour event at some point.
So this is it.
I like to just kind of spray my picks and hope one lands. I don't want to just pick Paige, Kat, and then somebody else and have that be the one I get right. I want the one I get right to be a little out there.
Okay.
So I have Haley King winning, and then Paige, and then Kat.
Haley King could definitely win. That's not like a...
Yeah.
I just think Paige Pierce is more likely to win.
I wouldn't disagree with that. I wouldn't disagree with that.
So the final pick that we have going into Jonesboro is the same thing we always pick, which is a player 980 rated or lower as our dark horse pick of the week, a player that we want to, I don't know, basically it's just me versus Trevor who's going to have the better week. I'm going first because I'm picking the one and only, the man, the myth, the legend, used to have his own segment on our podcast. If you go far enough back, way back, I don't even know those podcasts are online anywhere anymore. Jeffrey Corns. El Jefe. I'm picking him. I think, I honestly am just picking him because he's Jeff Corns. Like, I'm just going to pick him. I don't really have like a based on previous performance. I don't know if he's been playing much this year. He played at the Battle for Bedford, didn't have a great showing, but he had a solid first round. So we'll see. He has it in him. And I think once he knows he's a dark horse pick, he's just going to make sure he beats whoever you pick, and that's all I need him to do.
Or the pressure will get to him.
I don't think so. He's ice cold under pressure. He's a stone cold killer.
All right. You're hyping him up. That's for sure. All right.
He's going to show up in blue on Sunday like Paul. Because
Sunday blue?
Yeah.
You know he's wearing
gotta have
Sunday
ice in your
black.
Veins. He's probably going to wear those, what are the Hawaii polo he wears? I forgot the company, but they're pretty sick. They're like loud, but in a subtle way. You know what I mean?
I know what you're talking about. I've seen him wear them. They're pretty cool.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And your guy's going to see that and run for the hills. Listen, I don't even know who your guy is.
Let me tell you about Zach Dumont.
Zach Dumont. All right, let's hear this.
Okay. From Ozark, Arkansas.
Oh, you picked a local boy. Well, I don't know how local that is to Jonesboro, but
I don't know. It's home state.
That's my reasoning for Kevin Jones, so I can't flaw you there.
I mean, he's got a couple of C-tier open wins this year.
Okay.
He's on the come up.
What's his rating?
937.
I think that's like one. Isn't that one off Jeff?
I think so. He jumped
1 or 2 off Jeff.
He just jumped 11 points, so he's
okay. So
he's on the rise. He's only ever played 46 events. He doesn't have a lot under his belt, but there wasn't a whole lot that factored in.
You just kind of looked for someone near Jeff or something.
Oh, I like to look.
I told Trevor the second I looked at it, I said, "Don't you pick Jeff?" Because I'm picking Jeff.
I like to find guys that are local. I think that increases their chance of playing well.
Well, you don't know how local Ozark is to Jonesboro.
If you're a lower rated player, and then you're probably not going to a Pro Tour event unless.
Not true at all.
In most situations, you're probably not going unless it's local.
No.
If you're 937 rated, not talking about 960.
If one came within like 4 or 5 hours.
Okay, but 4 or 5 hours, you've probably played the course before, or you've had a chance to practice it.
Yeah, a chance to practice it this week.
I don't know. I like my man Zach Dumont.
I mean, there's a possibility he might be he might live 20 minutes from the course. I don't know how far.
It's in
Ozark
his backyard.
Is. You don't know that. Yeah. How far is Ozark from Jonesboro?
Should I look it up?
Look it up. I want to see it.
Over under 100 miles.
Under. I'm gonna say he's an hour and a half from the course.
Okay.
I actually don't even know. Is the course even in Jonesboro? Has to be.
Has to
the
be.
Jonesboro
Surely.
Open. Surely it's in Jonesboro.
Okay. Jonesboro, Arkansas. I hope it's 15 minutes. 3.5 hours.
3.5.
224 miles.
So then 3.5 hours is like Charlotte from us.
All the way across the state. Ozark's like on the west part of Arkansas. Jonesboro is on all the way
think
on the
about
side.
all the courses in North Carolina you've never played.
Why North Carolina?
In 3.5 hours. Or West Virginia.
Yeah, I've only ever played like 3 in my own home state.
That's what I'm saying. Like,
I'm not some kind of disc golf globetrotter though. Some people don't mess around. This
that
guy,
is true.
Zach Dumont. Yeah.
If he didn't mess around, would he only have like 40 whatever events?
He's new to the game. His PDGA number is like 107 something.
That means it's like 2-3 years old.
Yeah, it's pretty new. I've been playing this game for like 8 years and I haven't gotten any better. So when I see a guy who's just on the steady rise like that, I'm backpacking with him.
All right. Well, we will see how that works out. So Jeff Corns versus Zach Dumont. Star him on your UDisc Live. Tweeted us, let us know actually in the comments down below. Who are you siding with? Are you going with Jeff Corns? And if you're listening to this on audio, tweet at us at FoundationDG. Let me know. Who's your dark horse pick if it's someone you disagree with us? You can pick yourself. I can work too.
Sure, you encourage that.
So we're going to try something new here. We're about to go into a new segment that will probably stick around, but we'll at least bring it in when there's shows like this where there's not a ton of current events going on.
Right. And it may just sometimes be like one question.
Yeah.
It might be shorter sometimes, but today, since we don't have a lot.
And this is also something that you at home, whether you're watching or if you're listening, can kind of play along with, because I've never seen... I'm going to introduce it first. It is called Trevor's Trivia. Super clever name, I know. Basically, Trevor looked up some random disc golf trivia questions, whether it's like players who won stuff or I don't know what to expect. And he's going to ask me these questions to see how much I know, if I know. And at the same time, if you're watching or listening, play along, see if you know it.
Yeah, so there's going to be 10 questions for this first time through. The theme is pretty random. There's a few questions about world championships in here and like some all-time greats and things like that. That's kind of sort of the theme.
I'm nervous. I'm very nervous.
Yeah, they're like tough, but they're definitely gettable, and you can definitely make educated guesses at all of them.
Okay.
So yeah, if you're
I
listening
hope I don't
or watching,
walk away looking like a fool.
If you're listening or watching, your goal is to beat Hunter today.
Yeah, let's see
how many out of 10 we can get. So the first one, well, this would be a warm-up, but you also might not get this. I don't know. I try to make questions that there weren't like clues in the question that would be like allow you to deduce. First question. On how many continents is there at least one UDisc registered disc golf course?
How many continents?
On how many continents?
All 7.
That is correct.
Yeah, because I remember I remember a Pdga article about one in Antarctica, and that would be the only one I would have thought there wasn't one. Now, whether or not it was UDisc registered, that was a risk.
Right. So
but I didn't even consider
that.
There
are 2 UDisc registered courses in Antarctica.
There's 2.
There's the Witch's Bush, whatever that's about, and then Ross Island.
I don't know which one I've heard of.
Both of them are right on the coast, like I think shipping yards, because like there's like the population of 0 in Antarctica. So yeah,
I knew there was courses in Antarctica, but I if I would have thought more through it, I might not have guessed all 7 because you said UDisc registered. But I got it right.
That was your
I'm 1 for
question.
1.
You're not. There's not any that are that easy.
Okay.
I
was feeling very confident.
Because if I hear that question, I'd have probably said all 7 too. Because why else would I have asked the question? Because there's 6.
Surely.
All right.
Surely there was 6.
Okay, here's the next one. Rank these 3 players. No, not 3 players. I added more people. Rank these 4 players from least career wins to most.
Oh gosh.
Barry Schultz, Ken Climo, Elaine King, Juliana Korver. From least wins to most in their career.
The tough part is
PDGA wins.
Yeah, no, I know that. I'm just saying like the tough part is like that's just straight up wins.
Mm-hmm.
So I know a lot about their like majors and NTs and stuff that they've won, but I'm going Barry Schultz first because
Are we going from
most to least?
You're saying most to least? Okay.
I'm going Barry Schultz first because he still plays a whole lot today.
Yeah.
And I feel like the other players, especially Juliana Korver and Ken Climo, do not do a ton. So I'm going to go Barry Schultz 1, Elaine King 2. Because I know Ken Climo hasn't played a ton. Juliana Korver has been doing a lot of freestyling, I believe. I believe she stopped playing disc golf for a hot minute. I'm trying to make these educated guesses because I ain't got a clue. I'm taking
good.
Full on fire and shooting shots in the dark. So I'm going Barry first, Elaine King second, Ken Climo third, Juliana Korver fourth.
Okay. So the most wins is actually Elaine King with 287.
Dang.
Barry Schultz in second with 250. So he's quite a bit behind. And then Korver with 225 and Climo in last with 223.
Ooh, that was close then, Climo and Korver. I knew Climo and Korver were going to be the bottom 2 because Elaine King...
287.
See, Elaine King is the same type of thing like with Barry, where they've just been dominating North Carolina.
Right.
If you've been playing disc golf in North Carolina, you've seen them win.
And you've lost to them.
You've probably showed up to an MA1 tournament and lost to Elaine King.
Yeah.
Because that was like when I first started playing MPO down there, there wouldn't be a big FPO field, and so she would just play MA1 and she would cash.
Yeah.
I'd be like, holy cow.
She's legit. Okay.
Dang. Does she have the most all time? Who has the most all time?
Honestly, I try to look up everybody that I know to be... So unless there's guys that are very early players that have registered wins...
You said 286?
287. She might be number 1 all time because I looked up a lot of the all-time greats.
The only thing I could think of is like someone
that played a long time ago that just dominated a local scene.
Yeah, exactly.
But there wasn't as many events back then either. So
Well, maybe even not someone that played a long time ago, but someone that plays
with
like
all these flex starts, who knows?
exactly like someone that plays like 60 events a year.
Yeah.
Because Emerson Keith played 74 events in 1 year.
Yeah.
So I don't
That's
know.
a lot.
But regardless, 287. Is that what you just said? I keep forgetting 86 or 87.
287.
What did Barry Schultz have?
250. Yeah.
30 above. Man.
That's a lot.
Okay, well I wasn't.
No,
I
that was pretty
got
close.
0 out of 4 right, but I had them in the right twos.
Right, yeah.
Just flipped them.
So the third question is kind of a follow-up from that one.
Okay.
And it's which of those greats has the highest win percentage?
Highest win percentage. See, I think Elaine King and Barry Schultz win percentage is probably screwed up because they've been playing so long that they're still playing big events as, older people, where like Barry Schultz isn't going to go win a World or
I'll
USDC
say this
right
too.
now.
One of the person who it has a significant lead over everybody else. It's not even close.
So it's a win percentage.
Yeah, their win percentage is way higher than everybody else's, and it's pretty shocking.
Man, I want to say Climo, but I feel like it's Juliana Korver because I think that she was very dominant, and she was dominant during a time that FPO field wasn't as like packed as it is right now. So I'm gonna go Juliana Korver.
That's correct. 71%.
Holy cow!
Yeah.
So 7 out of 10 events she's showing
She's
up.
like, she's got the other ones are all around like 50%. The better ones.
Even 50%.
Yeah, like I think Elaine King's played like 600 in some events, but like 71%.
71% win percentage on your career. Can you imagine that?
Yeah, that's crazy.
Holy cow!
7 out of 10 times you're walking away with a winner.
That's insane. All right,
Yeah.
so I'm 2-1 right now.
All right, you're 2-1.
Yeah, 2 right, 1 wrong.
You're 2 for 3.
2 for 3.
Who says 2 and 1?
I don't know.
All right,
I'm thinking we're in a playoff mindset now.
These are gonna start getting a little more interesting now. So, this one is when was the last time a world championship was decided by a margin of 10 strokes or more?
10 strokes or more.
Yes. Obviously, this is the winner compared to second place.
The only one recently that was a little bit of a runaway was 2015. But I don't think it was that big of a runaway. Because I know going into the final 9, it was like Paul's victory lap. But it wasn't 10 strokes or more. 10 strokes. 2014 was a playoff. 2013, I don't know much about. But I feel like it was done by Paul. I could be wrong. I'm going to go 2015 just because I know that was a big win margin.
It's incorrect. I believe that 2015 one was 9 strokes. The answer is Dave Feldberg in 2008.
Oh, not a chance.
He won by 14.
He won by 14.
Yeah.
Wow.
Yeah.
Wow. No way I was guessing that one.
Yeah.
No way. Yeah, I just remember 2015, I flew up for the final 9. And I just remember we were like, do we really want to fly up? Like, Paul won. There's no way around it. No one's making up however many strokes in 9 holes, but I couldn't remember the amount of strokes.
Yeah.
And he had to go like course record to even do it. But you said how much Feldberg win by?
14.
14.
I believe it was 14.
How many
Fact check me on
rounds?
these.
Like 7?
I think all of them were really long back then, yeah.
Still, though, that's 2 strokes around. You're beating the field.
Yeah.
That's impressive.
Right,
Imagine how stress-free that final round was.
I know. That's pretty good.
Yeah.
So 2 for 4 now. This is another bit of an easier one. Which of the world champions has the highest PDGA number? So obviously this would be by highest, I mean the highest number.
Is this MPO and FPO or just MPO?
This was, I believe I was just factoring in MPO into this, yes.
Okay, the world champ with the highest, it's got to be Rick.
Correct.
Yeah.
Because actually, when you think about FPO, I think probably Bierkes probably has a newer one than Rick, probably.
I'm not sure.
That'd be interesting
to
look into.
Because I feel like Ricky and Paul are 1 and 2.
Right, yeah.
And then, heck, Barsby might not even be 3. He's got to be 3. I don't know. I just knew Barsby was older than Rick.
It's Ricky. This one's an interesting one right here. So we're 3 for 5 now. So after Ken Climo rose to prominence, so during his heyday, so we're assuming when he first kind of got to the top of the rankings. When was the first year he slipped out of the top 10 in the year-end world rankings? So after he kind of got himself to the top of the game, whenever that was, doesn't really matter. When's the first year he slipped out of the top 10 in the year-end world rankings.
So the year-end... Oh, yeah, because they don't have ongoing world rankings right now.
Mhm.
They just have year-end published ones.
Right.
When was his last world title? I feel like his last world title was as recent as like 2006 or 5. So I think it's a little bit after that. Because I feel like I think he won towards the end of his like... I'm going to say 2007.
The answer is 2011.
Oh, dang.
Yeah.
He was dominant for a
He
while.
he was 12th that year. Back in 2000, he was back in the world rankings, the top 10 the next year.
I guess if I thought that he won a Worlds in 2006, why the heck am I saying he's out of the top 10 in 2007?
So in
What am I
2012,
thinking?
the next year, he was back in when Will Schusterk was the number 1 in the world. And then he was back out in 2013 when Paul took over the number 1 spot for the first time.
See, that's so crazy that... So when Paul won his first Worlds, Climo was still a top 10 player.
In 2012,
Yeah.
at the year end, yeah. I think he was 9th that year, if I remember correctly.
So is that just... This you probably don't know this because I don't know this, and it doesn't have
Like
anything to do with your
what factors
question.
into that?
Yeah, what factors
I have
into the
no
world
idea.
ranking?
Back
Is it
then-
just ratings?
Back then, I think it actually was. When I was looking through, I think it may have just been ratings.
So there's a chance that he
'Cause he
was
was
just super high rated from his dominant years, and then
Right.
stopped playing as much, and his
Right.
rating just kept him in.
I was curious to find that. And by the way, with all these questions, I fact checked myself. But if you fact check and realize I'm wrong, then please correct me in a nice way. Because I'm not trying to be wrong, but I'm pretty sure I fact checked all of these correctly.
Well, I hope so.
I definitely tried. Okay. So now we're 3 for 6.
3 for 6.
Between 1998 and 1999, rather, the first USDGC, and 2008, only 2 players other than Climo and Schultz won a USDGC. Who were they? Between 99 and 08.
99 and 08.
Only 2 players other than Climo and Schultz won a USDGC.
Avery never won one. Nate Doss.
That is correct. Nate Dawson, 08.
Oh, Barry Schultz. You said Barry Schultz.
I'm not even going to come at you because that's shocking. I said other than Climo and Schultz.
I'm thinking in my head, for some reason, I was just thinking Climo. And I'm like, man, I was thinking like Worlds type. Well, who was dominant in that time? You know, this isn't the right answer because I don't think this guy's a U.S. champion. But I know he's a world champion, and he's the one that knocked Climo off. So I'm going Ron Russell.
Wrong.
Yeah.
It was Dave Feldberg in 2005.
Feldberg's a U.S. champion.
Yeah.
I knew
Sneaky.
that, but I don't know that. He's a U.S. and a world champion.
Yeah.
Daggone.
You're going to like
I knew for sure he was a world's. I don't think I knew that he was a U.S. champion.
This was surprising to me too. This is my favorite question. You're going to like this
I'm glad
one.
I didn't forget Doss.
Yeah, no. Doss was 08.
I was thinking through it, and I'm like, my mind went to Nico, and I was like, Nico never won
he
U.S.
was 09.
Nico did win U.S.
Yeah, 09.
But I was thinking, I wasn't thinking Nico didn't win. Nico never won Worlds. But I was
Yeah.
thinking Nico wasn't dominant yet.
Yeah.
Yeah, 09.
All right. Next question. You got 3 still. How much has the prize money for first place at the USDGC increased since 2003? So by which amount compared to what they won in 2003 to what they won this past year?
I mean, it's not going to be much. I don't think. Because I feel like there's been a lot more money in disc golf, but with how deep we pay, it doesn't affect the top that much. So I'm going to say 5,000.
2,000.
Oh,
It's gone. It went from 10K to 12K. It was
and it was
10K in 2018.
I was going to say it was recently still 10K.
Right. It was.
I was thinking I was honestly thinking, well, it's still 10K. Because why the heck's it 12K? That's such a random number.
It was as low as 7.5K in 2012 and 2013, and as high as 15K in 07.
Interesting. So they just shot up in 4 years and then let it crumble back down. Yeah, because I mean, with how
Pretty
deep,
shocking.
with how deep you pay,
Yeah.
the top isn't going to increase that much.
Yeah, I just thought that was comical.
I wonder if the added cash really has increased that much. Because
Couldn't
Innova,
really
we'll
see
talk
that.
about this,
Yeah.
but Innova owns USDGC, so they're not really getting many other sponsors in there.
It's true.
So Innova might be throwing the same amount of money. We'll have to look into the purse each year. How much is the purse changing? I'm gonna bet you it's not really changing.
Probably not a ton.
We'll also talk about will it change this year with paying $20, $30, or $40 for a pay-per-view. I'm gonna say no, but we'll talk about it.
All right, 2 more questions. So
2 more.
With the Jonesboro Open coming up this weekend, can you name the winner of the inaugural Jonesboro Open in 2017 for the Open and Women's Open divisions?
Paige Pierce for the Women's Open, because I think we just said
Correct.
she has never lost.
Correct.
2017.
Mm-hmm.
So it was probably a pro tour by then.
I don't think it existed before. I think it was
It
always
was
a pro tour,
a pro tour, yeah.
from what I saw.
I'm gonna go Rick.
Correct.
All right.
You got 4. All right, you got 1 more question. This is a tough one.
So this is the what am I?
This is to go 5 for 10 if you get this.
So this would go 5 or
one,
10,
which would be pretty good, to be honest. You've done well. This is a tough one, just because it's a bit precise. But if you're a pretty big Paul fan, you might know. So during the year 2015, commonly known as Paul's greatest season, how many PDGA wins did he have?
20.
He had 18.
Dang it! I think he
Good
lost.
guess, though.
I think he lost 5 times, and so I thought he played 25 events. Only reason I know that is we previously have done a podcast on what is Paul the greatest of all time a while ago, and we dove deep into his 2015 stats, and apparently I didn't dive deep enough.
Apparently not.
But so that's gonna wrap up Trevor's trivia.
4 for 10. Let us know how many you got.
Yeah, let us know down below how many you got, and also let us know what you think of the segment. We'll probably in the future.
We might just do like a couple questions
like,
themed for certain events.
Yeah, like a USDGC themed one next week for like 3 questions or something. And then we also we've got to talk through our off-season plans.
Yeah.
I think what my idea is, I think you liked this idea, so I'll pitch it to the comments. If you're listening, tweet us again or Instagram DM us. That works as well. I was thinking we make the podcast every other week so that there's more chance of there being stuff to talk about. And then during the off weeks, we do like a live stream, more not even necessarily disc golf related, like just hang out.
Right, yeah.
You know, we can do like I don't know. We can do
similar to what we do already on Fridays with our Patreon members. So if you're not a Patreon and you don't see the follow-up, we do it every Friday.
We'll make it a little more structured to where we have like maybe some games.
Yeah.
Like maybe Trevor's Trivia goes outside of disc golf during those weeks.
Ooh.
And maybe we have like the Barstool Sports pizza taste tests.
That'd
be
in. Fun. We should do like blind food testing.
Yeah, I don't know. Stuff like that. Just like
one other thing. If you have trivia questions, and like we're going to try and do them themed. So like for USDGC, when we do that podcast, we'll probably do USDGC questions. If you have
be next week.
Yeah. If you have really cool questions that like you fact checked and they're correct and they're really cool, feel free to message me on Discord.
Don't comment them.
No.
I read the comments.
He will see them. Message me on Discord or message me on Instagram.
You could comment them. I would get them all right.
Yeah.
You want to see me go 10 for 10? Comment.
Somehow privately message me. Instagram or Discord is the best way to do it. And let me know, and then I can use them because I'm definitely open. I'm sure people can deep dive and really find some cool stats that I didn't have time to just surface level find. So,
for sure. So let's get into a topic really fast. There's not a ton to really dig in here, but I want to talk about this Ultiworld article.
Yeah.
So it's been aforementioned in this podcast. It's the first time I've ever used the word for in my life. I hope I use it right. It's been previously mentioned in this podcast that Charlie Eisenhower wrote this article with Ultiworld. They did an interview with the PDGA president of the board. And I want to pull out a few questions, read you the question he asked and the answer he gave.
All right.
And I can barely see my screen, so this is going to be interesting. I'm going to lean forward. All right. So this is the question he asked. Has what happened this year in terms of the Pro Tour stepping up and there being no national tour unfortunately created discussions internally about the PDGA handing over more of the professional scene to the Disc Golf Pro Tour and winding down the national tour in the future? So this is what we've
Did he say unfortunately created discussions?
Yeah, like within the PDGA.
So he's saying that's a problem.
Yeah, that's how it stated the question.
Interesting. He's playing nice guy.
We've talked about that on the podcast, but so this is what the president of the board has said. He said, I think the national tour is definitely going to exist for the foreseeable future because it's pretty awesome too. A couple of years
It's
ago,
pretty awesome too. Come on.
a couple of years ago when the Pro Tour really came on the scene, and of course we had the National Tour, folks were asking me, what do you think? Is it a competing tour? And I was like, I don't think so at all. I mean, look at Paul Macbeth's schedule. He's playing all the National Tour events and all the Pro Tour events and Worlds, and that's about it. There's no competition. You can play both, sprinkle in a few majors like USDGC. When I look at it now on paper in front of me, the combination of the tours, it brings a huge smile to my face. That's an awesome tour, and you can call it an NT or a Disc Golf Pro Tour or whatever. They're awesome events run by awesome people.
Okay.
Initial reaction.
So two points to be made here. So point number one, the issue with this is not necessarily competing tours. It's competing it's not competing tours in the sense of the player schedules. It's competing tours as far as like the sport of disc golf as a whole. When people look in from the outside, we want to have all of our best stuff thrown at one product, which could be, that could be an issue at the beginning stage when we're trying to figure out what the best product is. We don't want to put all our eggs in one basket. But now that we know the Pro Tour is kind of what we're leaning towards, we need to have that be the main tour. So that's one of the issues. The other issue with that statement is you're talking about smiling because, they play all of our events and they're all awesome, which I don't agree. They're not bad events. That's not a problem. But the only reason they're doing that is because the Pro Tour is cooperating with your schedule. The Pro Tour, if they got tired of the National Tour, could schedule their own events on the same days as the National Tour events and just stomp them out. And they could do that right now. I think they're big enough that they could do it right now if they want to. They're letting you ease yourself out of the picture, and I think you need to cooperate with that because they could just say, you're doing your biggest National Tour event on that day? Guess what's also on that day? The MVP Open. So have fun with that. And like that, they could do it if they wanted.
Yeah. Now, first off, I want to say I agree with what you just said about like especially the marketing side from an outside perspective or like newer players. It can be confusing having two tours that are held to the same esteem. If one took a knee to the other, I think that might be a better scenario.
And it's not even like the PDGA is like dissolving because the PDGA doesn't just exist as a tour. If the Pro Tour was taking a knee, they'd be saying like they're gone pretty much.
Yeah,
but the PDGA still has a very important role to play in our sport. It's just not as a tour.
So I'm gonna play devil's advocate a little bit here, all right? Because I want to come at this from the other side of the argument because I do see the other side a little bit.
Okay.
From the standpoint of a few different things. First off, with how many eyes are coming to the sport right now, the National Tour does provide quite a bit of press for the PDGA because it has a PDGA. It's the PDGA Tour,
right?
You know what I mean? When you look at golf, the PDGA would be associated with USGA, right?
Mm-hmm.
I, as an outside person who's just casually watching golf, which is going to be more and more people, outside people casually watching disc golf, didn't know the USGA existed. Okay. In my head, now this might be because I have a disc golf background. I thought the PDGA and the PGA were the same thing.
Right.
So, to me, if I was looking at, how do I get... Now, if you Google and research, you're going to find out anyways. But if I'm on the outside looking in and I'm like, how do I get more involved in the sport? How do I get more involved? How do I play tournaments? All this stuff.
Yeah.
Having the PDGA's branding and name on a tour makes sense from that standpoint.
Well, so PDGA and USGA are different only in the sense that like they're both governing bodies is what you're getting at.
Yes.
But the PDGA is a more important entity in disc golf because you have to go through them to even play in tournaments. Okay. It's not in ball golf, and now once again, correct me if I'm wrong, but I've been in part of ball golf for a while. I played like competitive golf and like you don't have to be a part of, you don't have to get an event sanctioned by the USGA because there's the PDGA almost controls that whole thing because of ratings. I didn't even think about that. Like nobody would care to get things sanctioned if it weren't for ratings. They just want ratings. Like why else would you get a tournament sanctioned? People only avoid non-sanctioned tournaments because they're not getting ratings. Is that wrong?
I mean, I know the main reason I would play a tournament
is because of ratings.
My rating. But I mean, there's also, I think, having a tournament sanctioned means it's going to live up to a certain standard.
That's true.
So because there's got to be sanctioned tournaments in golf. I've never been a part of the golf scene, but
I think
knowing you're showing up to a PDGA C tier versus an unsanctioned tournament, there is a certain standard. Even if it's a C tier, when you get to a B tier, you even as a player have to hold
the rules.
Yourself.
You have the rules on your side. I guess.
An unsanctioned event, if someone wants to flip a mark and play from it, that doesn't matter. If they want to do whatever, but
PDGA memberships though are definitely more important than they have more of a grip on the players than like USGA, I guess, would be the kind of the equivalent.
Mm-hmm.
So like I see what you're saying, because yeah, like if you do want to get involved in disc golf and play events, you have to know what the Pdga is and you have to get a membership and stuff. But I don't think the national tour, like they can still, like their logo, the Pro Tour probably doesn't care if the Pdga throws their logo all over them.
It wouldn't.
That's the thing. So I think the Pro Tour just needs to be cooperative in that sense. Let the Pdga explain who they are through their events, throw up commercials, advertise. The Pdga can advertise on the Pro Tour, but I don't think it needs to happen through their own tour.
Very valid. The other side I could see is if the tours were competing.
Yeah.
Okay. I think it would be, now, ideally, if the tours decided, hey, we're going to compete, the national tour would be like, look, okay, we see the cards on the table. It's time to pull it. But if the tours decide to compete and the national tour, basically for whatever reason, the national tour is still around because they could go away and dissolve into the Pro Tour and push all their chips that way. Mm-hmm. They could do that right now. They're saying, no, we want to stay around. These events are fun. We can plan it together, all this stuff. If for some reason the Pro Tour decided to compete, that would make it more difficult for, like, forget the outside stuff. For us as viewers and players, it would be a more difficult thing. I think the process of, if the PDGA doesn't want to just hand over the national tour, the process of removing it would be a harmful thing to disc golf because of the fact that then you're going to have conflicting schedules. Right now, it's very harmonious to where you're going and it just starts out west, kind of comes in, kind of goes back out, comes up, goes down, goes around, whoop, all over my mic, all around, and then it's harmonious. You would then have two competing tours, and now players have to pick.
It's not a competition, though. Not right now.
Not right now, but I'm saying
So you're saying the PDGA like put everything at it, like said we're going to make.
If
we're both going to make a 15 event tour, like they're saying we're going to have just as much events, just as much money. That's what you're saying.
So right now, I would say the prestige, although I agree the Pro Tour is higher, there's still a prestige to the National Tour.
Yeah.
Because the National Tour has history, the National Tour points champion, stuff like that. So then players are having to decide, do I want to be on the National Tour or the Pro Tour? Because realistically, I can't do both.
Yeah.
And that's going to be something that if the Pro Tour forced their hand and the PDGA was like, no, like this is something that it might be viable. We'll talk about the money side in a second. That was the next question, but it might be something that makes them money. It might be all these things that could factor in that the PDGA is like, no, we want to keep this around, and then that becomes an issue for disc golf because now you might have Ricky and Paul playing at different places because now they're like, or Ricky and Paul, and then you have Eagle and Simon, and then you have what I mean. They could be on separate parts of the country, and we never get to see the whole field until we're at a major, which is not what you want for disc golf right now.
No, I mean, there's like a positive spin to that. I mean, first of all, that scenario hopefully won't happen, and I don't think it will. It won't, but yeah.
I'm just saying, I could, if their hands were tied and they were forced, I could see that being what happened.
Yeah,
before they just gave it up.
In that case, I mean, there could be a positive spin to that because like having competing tours that are both like putting everything they have into it, those tours would learn from each other. And eventually one would come out on top, and then that tour would really have learned a lot. But yeah, it would stink because you don't want players being split up.
No.
And like players are going to go.
That was happening when the Pro Tour first came on the scene.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, a lot of people resisted the Pro Tour when they, like Nate Sexton boycotted
and even
them.
the World Tour. Well, the boycott was because Joe Mez
wouldn't be there. But yeah, it's still.
But even the World Tour, when that came on, there were weekends where players had to decide, am I playing the World Tour event or like
can
the
I
World
afford
Tour?
To go to the World Tour?
The World Tour especially was like, am I going to spend this month to go over to play the World Tour, or do I play these Pro Tour / National Tour events? That kind of split the field, and I think that's what we want to avoid. So if they can both exist harmoniously, the only downside is that it could be confusing to outside sponsors, and it can be confusing to a fan.
Right.
But at the end of the day, is it actually that big of a deal? Probably not. But to me, like if you're going to make the schedule harmonious and you're going to make like work so hard together to make pretty much all these events happen anyways, why are we doing it as two separate things? Like he even calls it one tour.
Yeah,
like he even says, where is it? That's an awesome tour. And you can call it an NT or a DGPT or whatever. They're awesome events. Like he's even saying this is one tour.
Yeah.
So why are we calling it different things?
I'm going to wait to really formulate an opinion until I see like this this schedule to me seems like the national tour is slowly backing out.
Well, so I thought that too, but a user commented, I forget their name because I wasn't planning on bringing it up, but they actually corrected us that 6 events has been pretty common for the national tour as of late. I remember it being 8, but even 8 to 6 isn't really that much of a difference. So it's not really like they're turning back their schedule. 6 events was apparently what was scheduled for this year anyways, 2020, before it got canceled.
I don't know. I don't have a problem with it right now, because as long as the Pro Tour is getting as many events as they want to get in, like if the Pro Tour is like being held back because of the national tour, then that's an issue. But if they have all the ones they want and then the national tour just slips in their little events, then whatever. Like it doesn't really bother me.
So the next question I wanted to bring up, which actually is the final question I wanted to bring up, was he asked him, do you agree with the assessment that the PDGA could save time and money by not focusing on the national tour? Mm-hmm. Obviously not this upcoming year, but 2022 and beyond. And so then this was the response. Could we save time and money? Maybe, maybe not. The national tour generates revenue. And then, of course, we take that revenue and put it right back into the tour. And so to answer your question, I guess we have to decide how much is the national tour generating? How much are we spending? The PDGA Director of Operations, Mike Downs, doesn't come cheap. And there's a reason for that, because Mike Downs is amazing. And so if you're a national tour event, you're going to get Mike Downs there. And we've got to pay him. And he's worth every penny and more than we're paying him. You know what I mean? It takes manpower, right? I guess you're saying, do we want to spend the manpower? The answer right now is yes, we want to spend the manpower on the national tour, absolutely. But that question is revisited every year and several times a year.
What a shout out to Mike Downs, man. He just made him sound like the king of disc golf. Like, to put out a statement like that, you got to be really behind your guy that like he's not replaceable, apparently.
Well, yeah, that's not really what I got from it.
Well, no, I mean, obviously the main point is they're saying it almost sounds like every bit that they make off of those events, they throw right back into the tour. So why are they doing it?
That's what I was getting at.
Yeah, that's the main point. I'm just fascinated that they love Mike Downs so much.
Well, I'm not. He does a great job, and I'm not fascinated at that. I'm fascinated that he singles that out.
Well, yeah, that's what I'm saying.
Like, that's what I'm confused at, is not necessarily like how good of a job he does or anything like that, but like if you're talking about like, is this feasible money-wise?
They must really pay him a lot.
He must
be at the top of that little balance sheet.
I mean, why is that the thing that you bring up?
Maybe people have come after that before, and he's just like,
maybe that's a known thing. But I mean, to immediately be like, oh, is the national tour feasible? Well, Mike Downs doesn't come cheap, and that's word for word what the article says. So I'm assuming that's a direct quote from the guy.
Hopefully.
And then he said, and there's a reason for that. So to me, correct me if I'm wrong, his reasoning behind this was basically,
your events are cool.
The events are cool. The national tour funds itself, and it allows us to have Mike Downs on staff, so we keep it.
But
then Mike Downs is director of operations. He probably does a lot more than the national tour. But he was saying, like, we send him to every national tour. Like, we need the manpower.
PDGA just needs to find their niche. Their spot in the sport outside of touring to like dedicate their power towards. You know what they really need to do is like push disc golf marketing.
Well, see, here's my thing, right? Because
they need to focus on growing the sport.
When I was looking at, I agree. When I was looking at this, I've been trying to look at it from the other perspective, because a lot of times we agree on stuff, me and you. And so I've been trying to figure out, okay, well, what is the argument that someone who disagrees with us would say? That way we can debate it a little bit and, see is our logic flawed. But when I'm looking at this, when your only response to, could you save time and money is, well, the time and money we spend on it, we invest right back into it, and like it pays for itself, and it kind of it pays for itself and it allows us to have it. Then that is a waste of both.
Well, it's a waste of time.
If the PDGA, the answer to this question was like, well, yeah, could we save time and money? Sure, but that would hurt us because we make so much money off the national tour that it allows us to fund all these other programs and other stuff that we're doing to grow the sport. If that was the answer, then I would back down completely. I'd be like, okay, that makes sense. Yeah, the national tour should stay. But if the answer is like, well, basically we spend all this time and money, and then that allows us to spend all this time and money. I mean, it is a non-profit, the PDGA.
Yeah, the whole tour, though. I'm saying it doesn't make them profit within.
Yeah, so to me, that I want to play devil's advocate. Maybe, do you have any points to like debate it? I mean, to me, it makes no sense. I don't get it. I don't get where, like, I don't think that that's a huge issue per se, but I don't see where that's the answer that
Maybe
should have been given.
Yeah, I for me it's like the PDGA just wants to run big events their way. Maybe like
Do they? Because then why is the USDGC a thing? We'll talk about that next week. I'm sorry.
I think the PDGA's like role needs to be getting as many like people into the sport as possible. Obviously, then also being the governing body, that's the most important thing. Deciding the rules of the sport, maybe they just don't realize how important that is. Like they are regardless of if they have a tour or not, the PDGA is so important because they are the governing body of our sport.
Yeah.
They pretty much determine the course the sport will go on as far as courses, equipment, all these things. The rules are very important.
Yeah.
But like they need to focus. Like PDGA put out a commercial during that CBS coverage that was awful. It was the worst commercial of the entire. I wasn't sure if it was.
I don't know if it's the worst of all
that were on that coverage.
Maybe.
Yeah, it was.
I don't want to call anything else out. There were some other ones that I was watching.
It was the worst one I saw because I had no idea what it was for.
That's true. That was the only thing I had a big issue with was like
say what you want about the production quality,
but
it just didn't make any sense. Like PDGA, I want to see them hire some really good marketers, take some money, throw it towards that. Like, I want to see them get more people involved in the sport.
They're doing good stuff with that, but my thing is like, so I guess what he's saying is like, getting rid of the national tour doesn't really get us that much because anything we put into it, we get right back.
It's not a money thing; it's a time thing.
But I guess he's even saying that like the national tour, the money it makes us allows us to hire the people that run it.
Maybe.
So like, I think he's saying it's like a net zero. Like everything that we put in, we get right back out.
Let's think of another net zero.
That's
that
what I was
adds
say.
To the sport instead of just like contributes to something that already is there.
If the national tour, and maybe he just didn't clearly say it. Maybe the national tour does provide enough revenue and stuff to allow them to invest into the Edge program and invest into how can we grow the FPO side and invest into how can we get into more schools.
Well, that's what I was about to say. Here's what I'm saying. How about our next net zero is countrywide camps, PDGA camps.
Well, I think what they have going with Edge is great. The educational disc golf experience.
I want to see more.
I do too.
Yeah.
And you know, I'm trying to think who heads it up. I believe it's Jay. I know Jay and Des Redding do a lot with it. But to me, that like stuff like that, that's killer. Like because that's getting the next generation involved in disc golf early.
That's a big thing.
So like getting stuff like that. What if the PDGA took the time they're investing into the national tour and invested it into college disc golf or invested it into high school disc golf?
Yeah.
And get this going on because college disc golf is doing a great job, but it's owned by Innova.
Yeah.
It's not owned by, to me, a tour and a major, anything like that should not be owned by a manufacturer. No. That doesn't make sense. I think that just limits so much.
Yeah, I mean, they were able to, like, Innova was just able to snatch those things up. Like, it's not their fault.
It's very
smart for
Innova.
them, but it shouldn't be allowed.
It shouldn't be allowed. But so if I was, it's never too late. If I was the PDGA,
maybe
though,
not for college,
that's what I would be looking at is, all right, look, is there something else? Is there some other way that we can invest this money and, you know, get it back? You know, be able to put time in and get time back. If they start up a high school disc golf program, you would lose a lot of revenue. Like if they cancel the national tour, started up something else, yes, the national tour, a high school disc golf program, you're not going to make money off of. Mm-hmm. The national tour, you can with sponsors and all this stuff, but a high school disc golf program or something with family, getting younger generations
you get people involved. Though, guess what? They're going to sign up for PDGA memberships.
Yes,
which is money,
and you're going to get donors,
right?
Because I mean, a company might donate to the national tour as a sponsor, but as a player, like I would personally, like I wanted to get high school disc golf started in this area in general. I've been talking about this for a while. I need to just bite the bullet and dive head first. I'm a planner and I like to over plan,
right? Because
I don't want anything that my name like that I do to be bad. I just need to get over that when it comes to high school disc golf. I just need to do it. But I personally, like as a player, something that I'm interested in, I want to see done, I would donate money towards. And there's I know of tons of people like me that something like getting kids involved in disc golf. You know, there's people that individually sponsor events just because they want to see whatever demographic that event's targeted after. And these are individuals. Yeah. Those individuals are going to sponsor a PDGA directed program that does that.
Sure.
I don't know.
Good point.
And to me, when I read the answer of, you know, maybe we could, maybe we don't, it generates revenue and then we put it right back into the tour. I'm like, well, then the national tour is doing nothing for disc golf. That's what I read.
Nothing new for disc golf.
Yeah.
Like Pro Tour could do what that tour is doing.
Exactly.
Yeah.
Like we have that. You know,
Right. That's
6 years ago or 5 years ago, whenever it was that the Pro Tour started, before that, sure, we didn't have that.
Yeah.
But now you have this blessing of someone saying, I'm in the sport. I'm running this. I've proven for 5 years now that I can do this. Not only that, now that Jeff Spring and Todd Rainwater are part of it, I prove we can do this good. We can do this real good.
Mm-hmm.
We can take this off your plate. If I'm the PDGA and my goal is to grow the sport and get more people involved in the sport, I'm saying, wow, we have someone, we've done our job.
Mm-hmm.
We've created the sport. We've created the framework. Now there's someone to take this off our plate. What can we invest our time in now? Let's grow that. Let's get it where someone can take it off our plate and we can invest into something else.
Makes sense.
You think it would. But anyways, since we're talking about the PDGA and rules, it's time for the final segment, the second new segment. And this one, I think, will make more sense just kind of fitting into every podcast because this is a never-ending thing.
Mm-hmm.
And it's something that you guys have said you wanted for a while, or something along these lines, for us to talk a little bit more about rules and different ruling scenarios to help people better understand the rules.
Mm-hmm.
So that is why we now have a new segment called Make That Call. So basically, I'm going to give Trevor a scenario that this scenario in particular, I've actually seen happen on the course. And I'm going to just hear you as a player, just an average tournament player that isn't super involved in the rules, what call you would make.
Yeah.
And then we'll see if it's the right one.
All right.
So here is the scenario. There's a throw on your card. So let's just set up the hole really fast.
Okay.
The hole is going straight.
Mm-hmm.
It goes a little bit around a blind corner.
Okay.
Around that blind corner, there's some trees. And behind those trees is a lake.
Okay.
So you're kind of throwing around. Disc goes around the blind corner. You can't see it anymore. There's a lake there, and there's some tree bush type area.
Okay.
So throwing your card is headed down towards the lake,
Mm-hmm.
goes kind of into the trees, and you lose sight of it.
Lose sight of it.
You get up there,
Mm-hmm.
okay? The card can't locate the disc anywhere. They're never able to locate the disc.
Mm.
How does the card play out that shot?
They never find it.
They don't find it.
Okay.
So your two options are it's OB in the lake
or it's a lost
disc.
Okay. Well, so they... Because lost disc rules have changed, because it used to be like you could play from where you last saw it, but now I know you have to re-tee on a lost disc.
You have to rethrow from a previous live.
You have to rethrow.
It used to be a group consensus
of
where the disc last
right.
was.
But I know now you have to rethrow.
Yes.
So you're seeing, I mean, this has to be black and white. Like you're seeing it go, you lose sight of it, and then you can never find it. That's all I'm hearing. If they play that, if you play that, if the PDGA rule is that you play that as it's OB in the lake, that's criminal. It's got to be lost disc, you're rethrowing.
So here's basically, I think some of this stems from benefit to the player. If there's compelling evidence, if the card can agree there's compelling evidence.
We're using words like compelling evidence in the
This
rule
isn't
book?
straight from the rule book.
Okay.
But basically, this is straight from the PDGA's website.
Oh, boy.
This ruling. If there's compelling evidence that the disc went into the OB lake, then the card can safely assume that is what happened and play it as OB. If there's any uncertainty,
yeah.
so if players are like, I just don't know, it's played as lost disc.
It is tough because the lake, obviously, unless the disc floats a little bit, you're not going to see it.
Exactly.
So I guess for me, it's tough for me because I can't see the hole. So like, yeah, but it's a blind corner. Like it depends too. Like, is it like you
like,
can't?
It would depend a lot on the disc flight,
right? Because like if the disc is hyzering around the corner and I literally can't even see the water or anything about that.
So I'm gonna give you one more scenario with this because this is a scenario that actually happened.
That's a tough one.
I think I had told you the story, so that's why I didn't want to use this exact scenario.
Okay.
But we were at Ledgestone, and I was walking with Brody's card. Okay, and it was hole 13. So hole 13 is the par 5 that you throw across the water, and then you throw the hyzers.
Yeah.
You know which one I'm talking about? So you throw the hyzers out over the water, getting to the hole. So it was on the person's second shot. They throw a hyzer out over the water, and then they threw it. They crushed it, and it seemed to land in an area that had like a few trees and the bushes, the one shy of the basket, in that area. We get up there, no disc, nowhere to be found. We can't. So his card was questioning like, is it lost under these leaves or is it in the water? So I was standing there, and in my head, it was a lost disc.
Right.
Because there was no compelling evidence either way. No one could tell either way. From what I understand, I probably would have been correct in that scenario. But the card was like, well, look, we have no reason to believe that it's lost. Like it was overwater the whole way. The same argument could be made that it's lost as it could be OB. So basically the ruling was like, so you don't have to walk all the way back. We're going to call you OB, and we're going to say it crossed this little peninsula right here and played over there.
That's wrong.
I think, well, see, it's up to the group. So the group was basically saying that...
The group just doesn't feel like walking back there at that point. They're like, what do we care? OB
I think that was a big thing that played into it. I also think that the group didn't know what to do.
Honestly, yeah, I would have been confused.
Because what do you do with
But
that? To me,
if you don't know what to do, you go with the rule you know.
Yeah, so to me, the rule I knew and the rule I was comfortable, which obviously I had no way to make a call.
Yeah.
I was just a cameraman there, so I didn't even give my opinion.
Yeah.
I was talking to one of the caddies, we were literally 75 feet away watching them debate this out. And so I was like, he's like, well, what call would you make? He was just asking me, and I was like, I would call it a lost disc. I was like, but regardless, they need to make a call because by this point, it's the same time they're worried about, you could have walked back and returned.
Right.
But yeah, I thought that was interesting. So basically, it's one of those things of like, if the whole card has reason to believe it's in the lake where you couldn't see it, play it as OB. If the whole card's like, I don't know, 50-50, play it as lost disc.
Yeah, I mean, that's just very situational, I guess.
That one is.
Yeah, very situational.
Because that one doesn't have a clear-cut rule.
Right.
But it is something that I feel like might come out more often than not, because if you have a blind shot near a lake, you might never find the disc, and you're like, well, what the heck happened to that thing? Because, I mean, there's also going to be shots there.
I'd be trying to prove my case that thing was in the
absolutely.
lake. I'd be like, I think I see it down there.
That's right there.
You see that little
rock,
ripple?
Trevor, it's literally square. That's my disc.
That little ripple in the water, that was from my disc. Like, it landed like 10 minutes ago. Like, it's my disc.
All right. Well, hopefully you enjoy that segment. And hopefully as we continue that segment, you'll learn more about the rules of disc golf. And I'm going to just start searching the rule book for weird rules.
There's plenty out there.
Create scenarios around those. This one, I actually searched scenarios on the Pdga website and got their official answers from it. So I thought that was kind of cool. You can do that as well, because I just searched confusing rules Pdga, and it came up with like a list of Q&As that they had done. And I was like, huh. So that's going to be it for this week. Not a ton of news, but make sure you comment down below what you thought about the new segments, what you think about the new setup, all of that stuff. Let us know what you think. And if you're listening on audio, be sure to DM us or tweet at us these things as well, so that you can be involved in it. And don't forget, if you have any questions for Trevor's trivia for USDGC themed, DM him on Instagram or message him on Discord if you're a part of our Discord. I believe that is going to be it. Thank you guys so much for listening or for watching, and we will talk to you guys next week.